Hi, my name is Alan Young. I'm the Technical Lead for System Architect Design Manager, otherwise known as SIDM. And today I'm going to give you a brief overview of SIDM and a typical demo, or a demo of a typical scenario. So, what is SIDM? It's a new set of capabilities for SA, and they are threefold. The first is the architectural review. The second is dashboard planning and execution. The third is informal modeling. Now, what is it? It's built on the JAS Foundation and Design Manager. It's a web application, runs under an application server. It adopts JAS-based web UI conventions, therefore has the same look and feel as the other JAS apps. It enables SIDM to leverage features developed by the broader IBM teams, such as the JAS team and the DM teams, and that in turn has given us the collaboration feature that I'll show later, as well as the DP&E feature, which was built by the reporting teams. Now, by introducing these features, SIDM has better aligned SA with rational strategic initiatives, and the two main ones are JAS and DevOps, in particular the steering phrase. Now, a typical scenario for continuous business planning in DevOps involving SA and SIDM is as follows. So, what we've got here is a sort of a Venn diagram showing the three areas: the EA team on top, the business and IT team on the bottom, and then we have sort of the project and release teams on the right. And typically, what happens is the EA team, enterprise architecture team, would capture the current state, analyze it using the middle layer. Now, the middle layer is where SIDM comes to play, and then on the bottom we would have also data coming from Focal Point. So this is our portfolio management tool. So these two solutions coming from EA and Focal Point feed into our analysis, which we call the reporting server, or otherwise known as DP&E. That in turn generates new needs, perhaps projects that need to be developed, and that in turn results in a future state architecture being proposed. And again, that's done in SA. The future architecture is then shared with stakeholders, and that's where we have the green box here again, review and approve, where SIDM plays. So you can see sort of a high level where SIDM plays in the space. On the bottom side, from the once you have the review done and approved, you can then move on to develop and test. And that's not we won't be covering that today. That's part of another beyond the scope of this demo. Now, in particular, this demo I'm going to show involves three actors. We're going to use Al as our enterprise architect. We're going to have two stakeholders, Ian, the IT manager, and Kate, the CIO from the CIO office. So Al has been tasked to reduce wait times for clients wishing to purchase products from JK Enterprises. Al responds by re-architecting in SA a business process called New Client Take-On. The changes are made in a separate workspace called Future State, and to understand the impact of these changes, he's going to use SIDM's DP&E capability, think of it as the reporting, to compare the future versus the current states. He's then going to initiate a review to gather feedback and approval from stakeholders Ian and Kate. Okay, let's start the demo. Just to recap, we have Al, who's now proposing or has created some new architecture by changing the new client take-on business process, and he would like to understand the business impact of this. So to do that, he logs into SIDM. SIDM is a typical JAS application. You go through the usual authentication. And what he'll see is like any JAS application, he'll be dropped off at the projects page. He can select a project. In this case, the project is called JK Enterprises. This project is linked to that SA workspace I just showed you previously. Now, first thing I'm going to show is the analysis and what you can do with the reports. So I'm going to show you a number of reports. The first set of reports I'm going to show are the what I call the SA, sort of simple SA reports. These are the types of reports you can get in SAXT today. For example, you can see I've got a report here at top that lists the top 10 definitions by type. I've got another one here as top 10 diagrams by type, and on the bottom I've got like a list of the last 10 updates. So with the DP&E report feature, you can create, you can basically recreate the reports you've got today in SA. And then the nice thing is here is you can share them. The next thing are the slightly more involved. These are actually reports again derived from existing SA reports that walk through some basic relationships. Here I've got strategies that drive towards business goals, and this is showing you the ability to do counting, right? Where I can actually count the number of business goals per strategy. Again, here's another one that's a bar chart that does the counts, where you have things like the number of locations on each data, and then sort them from top to bottom. But you can do other things like summation, average, and whatnot. Now, where things get more interesting is this next tab. So here I have, Al has access to reports now that span workspaces. So on the left here, I've got a report running on the current workspace. On the right, I've got the future. Here I have a traceability report on the current, on the right, the future. And even another thing that is new today is the fact that these reports can also show mashup of data. By mashup, I mean data pulled from not only SA, you can see the little bracket SA. So I've got a business SA, service an SA, linked to a application SA that is linked now to an application focal point. So focal points are portfolio management solution. And you can see I've got bindings from account management here to the corresponding account management object in focal point. So these are basically the same concepts modeled into different tools and then linked together. The linkages themselves can be through OSLC or some user-defined parameter like a GUID. The nice thing now is that you can walk across this line now and see for this service has these applications which has this costs, this business alignment, and this IT alignment. Now you can start doing interesting things with these relationships. For example, the chart above, what I've done is for each business service, for example, new product requests, purchase order management, sales processing, I've totaled the cost from focal point, right? So in the case of this one, purchase order management, you can see the cost is $405,000. Now on the right hand side, I've got the future architecture, future state architecture. And as a result of the changes Al has made to that business process, he's now driven up his costs on that one application by $75,000. And you can sort of ask, well, what happened here, right? A quick look at the actual linkages from that purchase order management service shows that he has he's added a new active risk manager application as a result of the changes to his business process. So he's pulled in new processes, which is then pulled in a new dependent application, and that's driven up his costs. So that's in a nutshell what you can do, and I've got other charts here that I can jump to. Maybe of interest would be something like I like to show this one. Here we've got some bubble charts here. You can again show applications, and in this case you got an application where I've got the IT alignment on the right axis, on the x-axis, and the business alignment on the y-axis, and then you can see plot how well each of your applications align with your business initiatives and your IT initiatives, and where's the size of the application, the size of the bubble is the cost. Another one that's quite interesting is the SA business service application count and disposition. So this is where you have your business services again, the application where the color is now the disposition. Now, disposition is typically something a business analyst would do. For example, they may say this is an application that is in a discontinued state, maintained state, or maybe even offshore state. So this gives a sort of a high-level view, sort of a holistic view of the business service. Pulling data from focal point to give you this, very very unique view of your data. Now, the next step. Now that he's realized he's driven up his cost by $75,000 on that purchase order management service, Al is going to go create a review and then have this review basically linking the business process that he has changed and have that reviewed and approved by stakeholders. Okay, let's go ahead and create the review. But before we do that, the first time before you can create a review, you need to have actually imported the diagrams into SIDM. And to do that, that would typically be done maybe by an automated process, or the team lead could do this. And they would do it this way. You go to the request import page, and there you'll see an option that you can import all diagrams. You can import by selection. You can even import a particular diagram if you wish. For example, I think there's 7 business process diagrams. In particular, the new client take on is the one we are interested in. So we could then import this diagram. Now, once the import request is made, there's a history. We can go to that history page in a second. I just wanted to quickly show you also that you can sort of import by schedule, and you can also do snapshots import. That's important. And snapshotting could be useful in cases where you want to be able to lock down a particular review and then have it not change when you do another import. So let's look at the import history, and you can see that the import was completed, and everything is provided in terms of the date status, where it came from, what connection you used, what diagram was imported, and so on, and the usual information if you need to find out what was imported last. Now, once the import diagrams are imported, you'll be able to see them in the Explorer view. And they should look very familiar to what users you'd see in SA. So we're looking at business process. You'll see the new client take-on has now been imported, and you can see, preview it if you want. So there. So we have the diagram imported. So actually now we can go ahead and create the review. Let's do that. To create a review, we select the Create View page, and we'll give the review a title. All right. And for instructions, I'm going to say, I'm not going to type this in, I'm going to just cut and paste just to keep things going. I'll put in the instructions to the team. He's going to say, I'm going to attach the team, attach all the assets I want you to review, which is the new client take-on business process. And the team members or stakeholders are going to review are going to be Ian, and Ian's going to be a reviewer. I'm going to add Kate as an approver. And we're going to add the new client take-on process. So you can navigate it this way, which is kind of a bit of a bit cumbersome if you don't know where to find things, or you can do it this way, or you can just search for it. And then add it. So that's the review. Once he's created the review, he can then save the review and then start the review. Now let's simulate what Ian. We'll log in as on a different browser, and let's pretend we're Ian now. And Ian would normally get, when the review started, would get a notification through email. But you can log in the old-fashioned way. He can log in, and you see he's now logged in as Ian. He sees the JK Enterprise Gartner dashboard. He clicks on the project. He can see now there's a review in his inbox. So he can click on the review. Now it'll take us to the view. He can review the overview of the review and see the instructions. So he is a reviewer. So he has to take a look at this particular asset. So what are the assets? In this case, it's a new client take-on. He can click on that, and then he'll be able to see the diagram that came from SIDM. Now Ian's going to look at this and say, well, from an IT point of view, he's going to say, well, I don't think this is interesting. He notices that, he realizes that there's a problem here. You've got a retrieve credit report without the proper processes to deal with client security. So he's going to make a comment to that effect. So he's going to say additional processes required, right? And then he's going to type in, when accessing sensitive data, you need to add these additional processes. And you can also use the SIDM's annotation capabilities. You can sort of highlight what he wants Al to focus on. Now once he's done with his review, he can save the review and go back to the review and mark it as complete. So he's going to say, I've done the review, see my comments, okay, and then save. All right, now let's pretend we're Kate and do the same thing, more or less, from her point of view. So Kate is in the CIO office. She's going to look at she sees she's got an action here. She can look at the overview as well. She can also notice that there's a comment here that for her to go consult the dashboard to see, for additional, information. So she can actually go to the project dashboard. Let's go there. And notice that she can also have access to the same dashboards that Al, the architect, had access to. So she can also see the costing information in the current state, the costing and information in the future state, see that there's an 80K, a 75K difference. So she has access to the same data Al has. She can go back to her review and start the review process. So she'll go and open the review. Now she can see Ian's comments. So she sees it's not met IT security requirements. And she also knows it's at 75K over budget. So she can say things like, oh, well, I'm not approved, right? And for other reasons, she can say, Al, it's over budget and does not meet IT requirements. And she can also put her comments. Now, one other thing I didn't show is you can disable comments. You can also hover over these shapes to get additional information. So in this case, we can see you can hover and get the rich hover. You can get the details. So this is pulling all the details of the definition into SIDM. So if you want to see a deeper dive of the parameters of that actual process. Now she's done with her comments, so she can go back to reviews, and then mark it as complete as well. So she's now done, and she's going to reject it. So now we'll go back to Al. I'll do a refresh. You can now see everyone, Ian and Kate have both completed their reviews. So you can see that Ian has reviewed with results, and Kate has rejected her with comments. He can see the comments that were added, Kate's comments. He can see also Ian's comments, and he can take the actions he needs to do. Now that could be, for example, first of all, maybe linking this resource back to SA, so there's a traceability relationship between the assets that are being modified and the review that was created. So let's create that traceability link. We can do, we'll select the project in SA. In this case, it's a future state project, and let's browse for that asset. So in this case, it's a diagram, and we're going to type in, and there it is. So we're going to create a traceability link back to SA, and now we have that. And you can hover over that to see the actual asset in SA as it loads. So that's in a nutshell the review and collaboration capabilities. Now at this point, what Al could do is he could then basically go back to SA, make the changes, and start another iteration of the review, or and then start the whole process again and do another loop. So again, thank you for watching the demo, and thank you. Good afternoon.